But there's a beautiful song, it's so perfect for our journey. As I said early on, we're looking at forgiveness. And I feel a little self-conscious because I really only have one forgiveness message. And you've heard it. And it just goes like this. One of the key components of living a happy life is knowing how to forgive. It's forgiveness. There it is. The rest is just elaboration. It's all, that's the whole thing. And I love that song because that song is exactly it. And I was getting ready to put our book of the month from last month on the shelf, and I just paged through, and there's a whole section on forgiveness. And I read, and I thought, oh, my goodness. Before I retire this book, let me read it. Because the book of the month this month is from our guest speaker, Dr. Fred Luskin, who's coming. He's an expert on forgiveness, and his outstanding book is Forgive for Good. So I'll get to that. So I'll be a bit behind the times, but I want to just talk about the beautiful angle that the author Piero Ferrucci, in his book, The Power of Kindness, has on forgiveness. He starts off talking about a friend of his who does an informal survey going around asking friends of hers, what is the most important thing in the world? And of course people think about it and they come up with their thing. It's health, it's happiness, it's children, it's stability, it's security, it's this, it's that, and so it goes, different things for different people. But one of the tender moments was with her father in the kitchen, and she says to her father, what is the most important thing in the world? And without hesitating or skipping a beat, he says, it's to forgive. And what makes it particularly wonderful as a story is that the family is Jewish, and this man saw his entire family exterminated in the Holocaust. And so all he had left is a few photographs of family members, very much like the photographs you and I might have of people on vacation, happily doing whatever they're doing, and now gone. Just disappeared. And I thought about that, and I thought, that is inconceivable for me. I tried it on for a moment, and then I just stopped. I said, I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to imagine what that's like. It's mind-numbing, and yet this man was capable of forgiving without saying what happened was okay. And on top of it, he was able to get to the place where he identified forgiveness as the single most important factor in life. Now, people like that, they're my heroes. And I think it's because of people like that I'm hopeful for our world. I think perhaps we can make it. On page 40, the author writes about this man, I regard his attitude as a magnificent victory. And thanks to this victory, more than to the miracles of electronics, genetics, astronautics, that civilization is still possible. It is thanks to this man and many others like him that we have not plunged totally into barbarism. And I join my voice with that. That's my sentiment. Because it's very humbling. I look at my own life and I see the smaller transgressions that I'm not willing to get over. Because of this stumbling block that they might get away with it. So I can't forgive him. And I look at the story and I see the sobering awareness, yes, sometimes they do get away with it. That's significant. It's a significant block in forgiveness work. They'll get away with it if I forgive them in some way that my forgiveness is saying what happened is okay. That's where I stumble sometimes. But what we've been learning through our studies over the years, we're becoming aware that if we forgive, we can still stay conscious of what happened and even take steps so that it doesn't happen again. Just because we are being spiritually minded and embracing forgiveness, it doesn't mean we cannot be pro-justice. So I have to remind myself of that all the time, over and over again. To forgive does not mean saying that whatever I did or whatever they did is okay. It's a different kind of realization. It's the realization that I I don't have to, but I get to let go of the hurt for my own sake. For our children's sake. For the sake of our loved ones. So that I can be more of my magnificence and less of the resentment. For humanity's sake. And besides, it's well known now that living in unforgiveness often ends up being more punishing to ourselves than to the ones who offended us. But actually living in resentment does affect the people around us. It really does. It's an atmosphere. On page 44, I think, where was it? Oh, I wrote it down. Here we go. We can compare an unforgiving person to a city whose traffic is completely congested. The roads are blocked. Cars cannot move and stand waiting with their exhausts running. The fumes poisoning the air. Garbage cannot be collected and lies rotting on the roadside in the overflowing bins. People are frustrated and immobilized, cannot work, cannot communicate with each other, and as a result, no one enjoys life at all. It's a very refreshing image, isn't it? And you know what it does for me? It reminds me that my forgiveness work is about health and wholeness and safety and the ability to live again. Especially as we become aware in this community that what goes through our mind is significant. That's our focus. What travels through our mind is significant. So we're starting to be aware that our thoughts influence our well-being, and now we're understanding that there are studies that show that people who forgive enjoy better health, less depression, less anxiety, more energy. So it helps me to think about it this way. I forgive to heal myself. And so over the years, I have collected a list of things that forgiveness is not. And maybe you've got your own list or you've got a few things to add to, and offer it just, maybe it's helpful. Here's what I think forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not condoning unkindness, yours or mine. Forgiveness is not forgetting that something painful happened. Forgiveness is not excusing bad behavior, not theirs or mine. And forgiveness doesn't have to be an ecstatic, otherworldly religious experience where everything is suddenly okay with everyone. Forgiveness is not denying or minimizing your hurt. And forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciling with the offender, even if the offender is you. And forgiveness does not mean that you give up having feelings or intelligence. So we better get to what forgiveness might be. And maybe you've got your own list. And here are some ideas of what forgiveness might be. Forgiveness is a state of freedom. Forgiveness is giving up all hope of a better past.